What's up YouTube, it's PB. Thanks for tuning in to the latest Life of a Jobbing Plumber on number 30 now. So, it's getting cold now, doing loads and loads of breakdowns, a few installs here and there, chopping and changing my content with the stuff I'm doing on Instagram. Really enjoying Instagram at the minute, so a lot of the time when I'm driving around, working on jobs, I'm thinking what will be good for Instagram, whereas before I was thinking what can I put on YouTube. Bear with me, I think I'm sort of leveling off now, getting a nice medium. So I'm doing a bit of Instagram, a bit of YouTube. So hopefully you enjoy it. We've got some more of the 60-second fault finding tips. A lot of people said you're enjoying them. I did ask on my Instagram about those. Don't want to be showing non-gas safe registered people how to repair their boilers. They are still quite vague, but they are quite useful little tips. More people said they wanted them than didn't, so that's that. What else we got this week? The November campaign. My idea was to do that for the month of November. So I really believe, because tool theft is such a massive problem, I thought we'd get the 100,000 signatures in a month in November. We didn't, we got 36. I was a bit down on it, but 36,000 signatures in a month is a lot. Got a good response from the government, from the Police and Crime Commissioner. Going to have some more meetings with my MP and the Police and Crime Commissioner, and possibly the courts, the CPS, to see what they can do. But if we keep pushing for the 100,000, the debate in Parliament is going to help, even if it just raises awareness to people know what's going on. Had a couple of things like Channel 5 News were going to come out. They cancelled on the day. Another news team cancelled on the day. But I'm going to keep chipping away, keep doing my thing. Keep pushing it, so keep sharing it, keep signing it, and the more signatures we get, the better chance we get of getting something done about it. But in the meantime, after speaking to the police officers, get something to mark your kit. Identify your tools. If someone steals your tools, you've got no proof, you can't catch them in the act, the only way you'll get back your tools is if you've marked them. And that's got to be some, not just your name, it's got to be some kind of DNA, smart water, infrared, something like that. If the police find your stolen tools with another guy and you can't prove they're yours, even though you've got photos of them and they look like yours, if they're not marked, there's no proof. Crazily, the guy who stole them, because he's in possession of them and you can't prove they're yours, he gets to keep them. And that's just, you know, it's just how the law works. It's not common sense to me, it don't make sense to me, but that's how it is. So, deadlocks on your vans, extra alarms, mark all your tools, van vaults if you can afford them. The best thing we can do to stop this happening is do as much as we can ourselves. If they're harder to steal, then it's less likely they're going to get stolen. The criminals don't want to put the effort in. So alarms, locks, tool safes, mark your tools. That's the most important thing. And I'll keep chipping away what I'm doing with the November campaign, and hopefully this time next year things will be different for us. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Right, first job. Just going to basically talk through with you what to do when you get a really old system such as this and the customer only wants to repair it. They don't want to replace it. And that can be for whatever reason. Customer's always right. If they want to repair it, they want to repair it. But as you can see, it's not in very good condition. It's been leaking in the past. And connections such as this one on the cylinder, this tap in here, are a nightmare. If you touch that, if you even breathe on it, it's going to piss out, okay? Now, I'm here to change this 3-port, so the most important thing is I do not disturb this pipe and disturb this tap in on the cylinder. If I do, it's game over, new cylinder. The most important thing is to be honest with your customer. Just say to them, I can try and repair it, but this could happen, and it will need a new cylinder. So, the way I'm going to do this is to take this pump out between the pump and the 3-port, and then hopefully there'll be enough play on that pipe, the feed to the radiators, to pull it down, freeing up the valve to move down and out without disturbing that top pipe. So you can see there, we took the flow out, stripped the nut and olive off the end, that's that clear.
that frees up the valve now to pull straight down. You can either take the pipe out or the whole valve will move, depending on how much play you've got under the floor there. That pipe will usually go left or right to go off to the radiators, depending on how it's been piped up. So now we can take this valve off without touching that top pipe, which is the goal. Just very carefully remove that. Now, what I would normally do is strip the nuts and olives off and use the new ones that come with a valve. If that one, the top one, comes off easily, I'll do it, but we might not be able to get that off. You can see there's a bit of solder that's run that's blocking the nut. What we probably want to do is check that that nut will fit on the new valve so we don't have to replace it. I think I've shown you guys this before. If you get the new nut and try and put it onto the old valve body, if it fits that, that means that the nut that's on the pipe will fit your new valve body. If it doesn't, then unfortunately you're going to have to try and remove it, which on a job like this could be the thing that disturbs that pipe. You can also try the old nuts on the new body just to confirm before you start messing about. Really don't want to be struggling with this nut if we can help it at all, just because of the nature of this job. So as I've said before, remove the valve head to make it easy for you to work on the valve. AB is the flow in, and then B for bath is for your hot water, so that's going onto this top pipe here. So just going to make that on carefully. Squeaky bum time. That's made a start on that. So we've got it all back in, all replaced. New nut and olive on the bottom two pipes, and then we've left the old one on the top. It's all filled up now, and luckily nothing's leaking. So the reason I fill the things up first is while I'm messing about with the wiring, we can check for any weeps and stuff like that. But there's a little bit of water there where I've bled the system through that air vent. But other than that, job's a good one. It's filled up, it's working, no leaks. But yeah, just be honest with your customer. This job could have been a nightmare. We could have ended up swapping everything, but on this occasion it was all right. This is a picture my mate sent me. He was driving along in his van after work and he could smell burning, so he pulled over, opened the back doors, and his kit was on fire. So he pulled it all out, chucked it on the side of the road, and what had happened was one of his batteries, his DeWalt batteries, had set on fire and exploded. Now, I tweeted this and I tagged in DeWalt and asked them, you know, what was going on. And a lot of people commented about storing your batteries safely, because if you've got loose batteries and any metal kit touches the contacts on it, it can arc and make a spark. And if that's near anything flammable, it can start a fire. Now, I never really knew about this. I keep my batteries on the drill or I chuck them in the van or whatever, but I decided to have a play around with it. And you can see here I've got some steel wool, wire wool, which we all keep in our kit bags for soldering and stuff. And you can see how easy it is, just running it against the contacts on the battery, it creates a spark. And if you've got WD-40 or an oily rag or anything lying around in your van, and you chuck a battery into your kit bag and you're driving around, things are moving around, that could be enough to create the spark to set the back of your van on fire. So I thought it was really interesting, and it's made me think, and I'm going to look after my kit a lot more. I'm not saying it was DeWalt's fault. He probably put his kit battery in his bag and it touched something metal. But yeah, just a little warning in case you didn't know, if you were a bit oblivious like me. Look after your cordless batteries. Don't leave them lying around with loose kit, especially loose metal stuff like steel wool, because you could lose all your kit. What's up guys, it's PB, back with another 60-second boiler fault finding tip. So we're looking at this diverter valve. Now the way these work is when you open the tap, the diaphragm pushes a pin out which hits a micro switch, and that lets the boiler know someone's opened the tap, it's time to fire up. This one isn't working. So what we're going to do is pop this black circlip off. Now if you're really lucky like me, you'll get it to land on your thumb like that. Take the micro switch off the end, and you'll see now when I open the tap, the pin pushes out with this foot on the end. And the issue we've got here is it's not pushing out far enough to hit the micro switch. Now the reason for that is the diaphragm's become worn, or it might have a little perforation in it. But a quick tip to get you by, if you glue a washer on the end of that foot, you're increasing the distance and you're reducing the gap between that and the micro switch. So now when we open the tap, it's pushing it far enough out to hit the micro switch, and this will get you by overnight or for the next couple of days while you're waiting for a diaphragm repair kit or a new diverter valve to swap the whole thing. Make you look good in front of your customer and get them hot water overnight. Right guys, I'm showing you this. This is one of those character building jobs when you start it and you just think, why have I started this job? So, no hot water, replacing this diaphragm on the diverter valve. And to get this off, this was pushed in on an O-ring into the plate here, sort of like this. So when that was in and all fixed, you couldn't actually pull this apart because the pin goes through it. You had to prise it that way to pull it out. So I ended up taking the whole thing out of the boiler, which if I was doing that, I probably should have bought the whole diverter valve. It's just been, yeah, a ball ache. Hopefully I'll get it all back together and it works. Luckily, I was supposed to come and do this on Saturday, and I rang them up and I said, look, it's getting a bit late now, it's about 5 o'clock. I don't really want to come and start this at 5 on a Saturday, and I'm so glad I didn't. It's Monday morning now, so at least I've got a good crack at it. But yeah, it's just one of those jobs, and I bet you every joint when I put it back together weeps. I'll keep you posted. I'll just show you the boiler, inside the boiler. See, literally had to take the whole thing out. Just a horrible, horrible boiler. If you're wondering, this is an Icon 23T. If you've never heard of it, I don't blame you. Best thing about it is there's a drain point at the front of the boiler, but other than that, it's pretty shit. But I'll crack on, I'll let you know how I get on. The one bit of advice I will give you quickly is, if you're doing anything like this, make sure you change all the washers. Don't even chance it, even if you think, oh, it looks half decent. I mean, that one don't, but just change them, because if you put it all back together in one leak, you're going to kick yourself. So on your van, keep decent supply washers, all different sizes, and you won't go far wrong. Okay, so we've got the diverter valve and plate back in. Little tip, so this one here couldn't quite reach it to tighten it up. So when you put things back together, don't tighten anything up. So if you kept these two loose, I could just pull it enough this way to make this nut start. Get every nut started, this is the tip, get every nut started before you tighten them up. Otherwise you'll have a job getting some in, but this is in now. I'll show you here. Pressurised as well. Touch wood, nothing is leaking. So give that a minute, and what I always do, if I told you before, is I blast it with a hairdryer. So I'm going to dry this out completely so I can make sure before I put the gas valve back in and other bits that nothing is actually leaking, and then we'll see if it works. Just show you, we've done the main job is this. We've put the diverter valve repair kit in, so when I open the tap now, let's get into focus. Pins coming right the way out, which it wasn't doing before. A bit of air in that. So it looks like the actual job we've done has been a success. Just put it all back together now, and hopefully it works. Okay, so I was quite lucky with this one. I say lucky, I've put it all back together and it's working, and nothing's dripping, nothing's leaking. But if you do a job like this, it's a bit of a bastard. You think, fucking hell, what am I going to do? I'm not going to make any money on this. Just, swings and roundabouts. You're going to lose money on some jobs, you'll make money on others. So don't let it beat you. It's character building. You'll learn from it. Look at it as a positive experience. Now, yeah, you could fill it up and it will leak and you'll have to drain it all down again. Swap a washer. You might even have to take the whole thing out again, and you just think, when's this going to end? But just try and be positive. Make sure you swap all the washers. That's the main thing, and don't let it beat you. You can see, this could have been horrible, and it's all experience. I've done one of these when I was training. When I first started out, Jaguar Combi, and I swapped the plate heat exchanger on it. And I could not get it to hold, and I was there all day
You know, one job I was there all day. Now, yeah, I was an apprentice. I was getting paid regardless, so it weren't as bad as, you know, if you're self-employed. But it is demoralising. I had to keep going down to the van, going to HRPC to pick up new washers, putting silicone grease on, everything I could, and it just would not stop weeping. My van was parked really far away. It was just a horrible job, but, you know, I'm still here, I'm still working, didn't let it beat me. So the moral of this story is just sometimes a bit of a positive attitude, don't give up. And then things like this. So I'm working in here next to this toilet. This toilet has been dripping the whole time, right? Now when you're working on a boiler or anything to do with water and you can constantly hear a drip, that is added stress. It does not help. Could have turned it off, probably should have turned it off. Didn't think about that. But yeah, things like that don't help. But don't let it beat you. As you can see here, it's working, it's all good. So yeah, moral of the story. I don't know why I'm still talking. I'm just happy this boiler's done.
This is AD's latest Atom filter, a micro filter with inline brass body, two-way valve which has bypass or filtration. We have air vent and a drain off facility. The air vent we can install AD's repeats into. We have a slip collar facility, 115mm gap required for installation. On the chamber here, once you've emptied the canister, undo, and the filter drops down nice and easy. We can now remove the sheath, which may have some magnetite on, which we can swill off. Any non-metallic particles that are in the bottom can be drained through the drain-off facility at the bottom. Reassemble an Atom filter.
This is a combi swap I did this week. Booked 2 days for this job. There's nothing actually wrong with this boiler. The customer says it's worked for 15 years, not a problem. They just want to upgrade it because they're worried now that it's at an age where it might need replacing. As you can see at the minute, all the pipes are boxed in. It's a nice little job. I came to quote this. I got the job off the Valent Advance app, so they contacted me for a quote. As I say, it's a nice little job, right above a kitchen sink, so we can take the condensed inside into that. Nice big driveway, I can get the van on the drive, so no hassle getting my kit out. And then the gas meter's right by as well, in case we need to increase the size of the gas main. So yeah, it should be a nice little job. So on this one, the customer didn't want a power flush. No issues with the radiators, all getting nice and hot, all circulating fine. So what I'm going to do before I start is I'm going to connect the Magna Cleanse on and use the old boiler. So I'm going to cut this pipe, pop these two speed fit M&F elbows on, and then we can stick the Magna Cleanse on that and use this boiler, the pump on this boiler, run the system, couple 3 hours, go around each radiator and clean up the system before we fit the new boiler on. So you can see here I've cut the pipes, and I've got these two tails, and we're going to use the adapter you get with the Magna Cleanse unit. So this adjusts, and you can fit this onto a Magna Clean filter, or you can just use it like I've done, push fit onto those pipe connections. It's a real quick, nice easy way of flushing the system before we fit the new boiler. I think always best practice to do it that way because you're cleaning up the system before you stick the new boiler on. So I mentioned that the lady said that the boiler's never broken down. As soon as I went to fire it up, the boiler wouldn't come on. Got power, checked all that out, checked the room stat, and the issue was with this clock. So all I did was turn the power off to drain the system down, and it stopped working. So what I had to do was unplug the clock and just link these two wires on, so that's permanently on now. So the one downside to a Magna Cleanse, you are relying on the boiler working and the pump working to send the heat around the system, as opposed to a power flush where you have a separate pump and power from your machine. You can flush any kind of system. So yeah, not the greatest start, but it didn't take me long to pinpoint that the clock was the problem. So now we're flushing through the system, leave this on for a couple of 3 hours. There's about 10 radiators in this house, so we'll go around to each individual radiator, flush through, and then we'll check what the Magna Cleanse picks up. So as I showed you before, turn the boiler off, isolate these two valves, bleed the 2 magnets just to let the pressure off, and then we can screw them out. And they're just basically, I normally tell people it's 4 times the size of the filter you leave in, so the Pro 2. You can see there, picked up quite a lot of debris. Even though they had no complaints of the system, all the radiators were getting hot, you can still see all that debris we got out. I really do enjoy doing a Magla cleanse. I love showing the customers as well when you've got all this sludge out, just to show that it's done its job. So now we've done that, we'll drain it all down, get that back on the van, and then we'll on to the next bit. So took the old boiler off. You can just see behind the pipes there's a bit of plasterboard missing, so just to make the wall sound, stuck some ply on. A lot of people ask me about the ply. I don't do it on every job, just when the walls aren't right, or if I'm going to be putting a lot of clips on, because you can screw your clips directly into the ply. The other reason was this was tiled, and the new boiler was going to come down onto the tiles. It just would have looked a mess, so a nice bit of ply. Cost you about 20 quid for a big sheet, and you'll get probably 2 jobs out of that. So just doing a bit of soldering here. On Instagram, a guy commented, I put this video on Instagram, and a guy commented about these 2 bends. You see the 15 and the 22mm bend, the radius is different. When your 15's on the other side, it's inside the 22, it don't look as bad. But he was he was commenting saying that the bends were off. Well, they're not. The bends are fine, it's just you can't bend a 22mm pipe the same as you can a 15, it would just kink. So I've done a little video now to show you, anyone who didn't know, because a lot of you guys that watch this aren't plumbers. Bending machine, you get fixed guides and formers. So I've already bent the 22mm pipe at 90, and now I'm bending a 15mm pipe at 90 on the same machine. And this is what everybody's pipe bender up and down the country will look like. Looks fine, but when you take it out, you'll see the difference. Nice tight 90 bend on there on the 15. It's harder to get out the guide because you would never normally bend this with 2 bits of piping. It's just a bit difficult because you've got that locking arm catching on the pipe. We've got 2 122, 115 lengths of pipe, both bent at a 90, and you can see there the radius is different just because the pipe's thicker, but that's how it comes off the machine. So this is how far I got on the first day. Got the boiler on the wall, the flue out, the gas and the heating flow done, and then we just capped off the hot and cold overnight just there. The rest of the house has got cold. They've got an electric shower upstairs, so tomorrow just got to finish off, connect to the sink, connect the condense, and those bits. So not a bad day at all, and this is the finished job. So not my favourite, but did the best I could. It's always difficult when you've got across pipes. You see I've got across the hot, the cold, the central heating, return, all got to cross over each other, and the gas. As I say, had some fun with it, bent it. Could have done it different. You probably would have done it different to me, but that's what I came up with. Anyway, nice little 2-day combi swap there. What's up guys, it's PB back with another 60-second boiler fault finding tip. Got an E119 error on this Baxi Combi, which is a low pressure fault, but you can see there from the pressure gauge the pressure's fine. Holding down the reset button doesn't clear the fault. That's telling me that there's an issue with the water pressure sensor. That's this part here. To confirm that this is at fault, we're going to link it out. Turn off the power, remove the 2 blue leads, and then we're going to put a piece of wire in between the 2 to bypass that pressure sensor. what we're doing here is bypassing that part to check that the boiler operates, and that confirms that that's what the issue is. Now the most important thing here is we've bypassed a safety device. If we left this cable in, the boiler could fire up with no water in the system. So it's absolutely vital that you're only doing this to confirm the fault, and you remove the wire afterwards. So remove the link wire, put the two blue leads back on, and then when we put the power back on, you'll see there you get the error code again, which again is confirming what the issue is. These are the kinds of jobs I don't like. Someone's been out to this to replace the laminate floor, and they've reported that there's a problem with the chipboard floor. There's a leak somewhere and it's swollen up. So then they call you in, you've got to trace the leak. Now normally from the bath, the silicone sealant's a big problem, or the shower screen, but on this occasion it's coming from the toilet. I can see here the pan connector has been boxed in and it's not sitting right on the toilet. It's too high up, there's a massive gap at the bottom and there's no gap at the top. So it's not sealing properly. You can see here when we flush the toilet, it's dripping from there, and then that's just going to be soaking into that chipboard and travelling across the bathroom. It's probably been leaking for ages. So the trouble with this is we're now going to have to take the toilet out, which means unscrewing it from the floor and the wall. So we've got the toilet out. This isn't for the squeamish, but we've got to now either replace that pan connector or refit it and make it work basically. Now I've driven out to this job, didn't know what it was going to be. I don't keep a bent pan connector on the van. I don't know anyone who would. So cleaned it up as best I can, refitted the rubber seal, put some grease around it, freed it so it's not trapped in the boxing as much to give us a bit more play, and then hopefully we'll be able to attach this properly to the toilet and see if it works. So you can see there the gap's nice and even all the way around on the rubber seal. It's slightly more out the boxing than it was before, and I've moved the toilet forwards very slightly to get that in, but they are having new lino, so that's not going to be a problem. And then when we're done, just check it, give it a flush, and we can see now no drips from the pan connector. Just thought I'd show you this one quickly. This was a late night call out to a boiler leaking. It's a Gledhill boiler, mate. Hate these at the best of times, but you can see there it's been leaking for a while, numerous places, but it sprung a leak behind the circuit board. How the power's still on, I don't know. But this is something I would not quote to repair it. There's no way you could repair this. You'd quote to rip this out and stick an unvented cylinder in, or take the boiler out downstairs and this out and stick them a nice big combi in, depending on how many bathrooms they've got, things like that. But I've never seen one like this before, leaking from the PCB. Thought you'd find that interesting. Here for Instagram, thought it would be quite interesting. This is the difference between the standard nozzle and the swirl tip on a Rothenberger Superfire torch. So the standard nozzle you get when you buy it can get very, very hot. You can see here, you can see it on the end, but you can't touch that. As opposed to the swivel tip, which I call the cool tip, it doesn't get hot. You can hold it really close to the flame. It's good if you're soldering, you put the bottle down and it falls over. If the swivel tip lands on a carpet, it's not going to burn it, as opposed to the original will probably leave a nice big burn mark in the carpet. And then I just thought it would be cool to show it on the FLIR thermal imaging. So you can see there we've got about 15 degrees on the swirl tip and about 80-90 degrees on the standard issue tip. Just thought that'd be interesting. You can buy the swirl tip as an accessory in your merchants.
So a lot of you said to me about the 60-second fault finding videos that you really enjoyed them and they were really useful. Now, I work on all kinds of boilers, I have done for years, but when you go on the training courses with the manufacturers, you'll do specific fault finding for those boilers. Now, I've got a really good mate, James Cox. He's the head of service at Vaillant. So anything to do with fixing, repairing Vaillant boilers, technical side, he knows everything there is to know about them. And he started doing similar 60-second breakdown tips, fault finding tips, general tips, the kind of things that you would learn on a training course on social media. So I had a word with him, and we're going to stick them in here as well, because I think you'll benefit from it. Only for gas safe registered engineers. You'll only get this information if you go on the Vaillant course and you're gas safe registered. But they're just little snippets that I think will help your overall knowledge, and I think you'll find them useful. So hopefully we're going to include James every week. Every time he puts one online, we'll get it on the channel. We'll have his own little guest spot, and we'll go from there. And maybe in the future, if any of you have got little tips you want to share with the community, if you want to get onto my YouTube channel, a little guest spot, that's fine. Just contact me, let me know, send me over the video. I'll have a look at it. If I think if it'll work, if I think people will find it interesting, stick you on here as well. I like working with other people, like learning from other people, so I've got no problem with that. So here's James with his first ever Valent boiler tip.
Hi guys, James from Valent Service. Talking about the F62 fault code on the Ecotec Plus or Pro range. Generally it will be the main circuit board, however it's always worth checking the thermal fuse in the main heat exchanger. This sits inside the main heat exchanger and will generally fail at around 160 to 170 degrees flue gas temperature. It'll cause it to go open circuit, which will then generate an F76 fault code. However, as it's starting to fail, it can give you resistance that will generate an F62. Easy way to check it: disconnect the plug for the thermal fuse, get your multimeter set to resistance, so our ohm setting, and what we want to see through the thermal fuse is a short circuit, continuity, no resistance. 0.3, that one's perfect. However, as it's starting to fail, and you can get upwards of 30-40 ohms, that can generate an F62 fault code, so it's really worth checking before you go and pod out on a circuit board. Cheers guys.
This is just an insight into the kind of job you'll do when you're a gas engineer, and that's making sure that the appliance in someone's home is safe and that they're safe using it. So open flued appliances use the air inside the room, so a lot of them will need their own ventilation. The bigger the appliance, the more ventilation it will need, and this is something you'll learn when you go to do your gas training. So the most important thing with an open fluid appliance is the air vents. Now modern vents like this one will tell you the free air area on it. So this one's got 6,170 square millimeters. So you work out the size of vent your appliance needs. If that's big enough, fine. If it's not, then you need to put additional ventilation in. You also learn what type of air vents are acceptable, which ones aren't, and how to work out the free area. So on this one you measure each individual square and add them up to give you the size of the vent. You also have to consider things like this one's covered in cobwebs, so they're becoming blocked. It's your job to check that the vents are fit for purpose. So for example on this one, nice big louvers, lots of free air there, but there's a fly screen in, and you can see there, you can't even see through it. It's been painted, it's got cobwebs in it. Fly screens are banned, and this is something that you'll learn. So you'd either have to take that out, the fly screen, or you'd have to put a different vent in. And then the most important thing you need to check is that the tenants haven't covered them over, and you'll find this a lot. They'll complain that there was a draft, so they covered it over, not knowing that they need that air for their appliance to burn safely. So yeah, you just need to check if you've got an open fluid appliance, you've got enough ventilation. If you've not, you work it out, and this is something that you'll learn when you do your gas.
Van tool theft affects us all.
From your local tradesman.
Or tradeswoman.
You could be a plumber.
Or an electrician.
A builder. Or a tiler.
Whether you're a veteran
Or a sole trader.
Or just starting out.
Having your tools stolen.
Or your van stolen.
can really impact your business.
The damage to your van making it unusable.
Can stop you from working.
Or earning a living.
To support you and your family.
It has to stop.
Not just for us,
but for future generations.
So sign the petition.
It only takes a minute.
So please, share with your
friends and colleagues.
And anyone you think it matters to.
Because it matters to us.